Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to welcome you, Administrator Williams, over here. Thank you for being here today. Last month, I was very pleased to hear of your agency's announcement of a $60 million grant agreement with the Dallas Area Rapid Transit, or DART, which serves my district in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The grant will help a project to lengthen platforms at 28 stations along the existing red and blue light rail lines, many of which are in my district. I'd also like to thank you for your recent visit to North Texas, which I'm sure highlighted how important transit is for our region. We are one of the most rapidly growing places in the country, and our economic growth and population growth is dependent on federal investment as well. And so thank you for that commitment and for coming to North Texas. I do want to mention another project that DART has applied for CIG funding. It's the second rail alignment in downtown Dallas, called the D2 subway. This is a project that will greatly improve mobility and add capacity for our system. Right now, if anything happens in downtown to block our existing line, the entire line is shut down. So this, adding a second station will be very important for us. And to kind of couple on to what some of my colleagues have said, I am concerned, of course, about some of the delays we've seen, but I trust that your agencies can be working with DART to make sure that gets a full consideration. I think it's something that's certainly worthy of being considered. Yeah. Thank you. I want to turn to TIFIA loans because this is an important thing for Texas. As you know, we can combine different funding mechanisms for a whole lot of things. And in your dear colleague letter, you stated that TIFIA will be considered, quote, in the context of federal funding sources, end quote, and, quote, not separate from the federal funding sources. Can you explain how FTA is applying that standard?
Okay, so let me begin by saying that loans are treated by the Build America Bureau. So if RIF and TIFIA loans are actually handled through them. We have done multiple projects that have included TIFIA loans, including Seattle being probably the most recent one, and one of the largest actual CIG projects we've done at $1.17 billion for Seattle. What I think the dear colleague was trying to get at is that it looks at, so in CIG, we only look at the funding based on CIG or non-CIG funding. The repayment sources really don't factor in to that. But it is a discretionary grant program, so when the department looks at funding, they look at the totality of the federal investment, and so they look at everything that is being asked for from the federal government, and I think that's what it was getting at. And so I know that has been somewhat confusing, but let me assure you that we've used TIFIA. Maryland Purple Line is another example of where we've used a TIFIA loan.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, because as you know, this is not being repaid with federal funds. And so my concern is if we're providing less flexibility to transit projects than we are to highway projects, which I think are treated differently. Is that the case?
I'm not as familiar with the highway side. I couldn't really answer that. I'd be happy to get back to you on the record for that.
Sure, sure. Well, as I said, transit's very important for us. I want to make sure that as many funding sources are available as possible. I want to work with your agency and with the administration to try and do everything we can to help our area continue to grow. And for us, TIFIA and other funding sources are very important. So we'll certainly be following up with you about that. But I also, as I said, want to thank you for coming to North Texas and for the grant that DART received. It's a great program. DART is making great advancements. We have very good leadership there, as I'm sure you've seen.
Yes, we have a great working relationship with Gary there. He's very forward-thinking in the industry, so you're very lucky to have him there.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I yield back, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir.